listen to the high point of this session, because now I'm going to ask His Excellency Dennis G. Antoine, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Grenada to the United Nations, to come now and introduce to us, brothers and sisters, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique.
Good evening, everyone. Honorable members of the House of Parliament from Grenada and other representatives at the head platform that has been mentioned. I want to recognize representatives from U.S., federal, state, and local government present. Also, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, leaders of the Grenadian and Caribbean organizations, special invited guests, Caribbean and American nationals, friends of Grenada, and my sisters and brothers from Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. I'll take this opportunity to bring you greetings. First, from the staff of the Permanent Mission of Grenada, representing Grenada here at the United Nations, present also in the audience. I hope you would meet the staff and learn who they are. I have a very singular and special honor to reintroduce to some and to introduce to many an honorable man. Born on the 12th of November to the late Dowling and still vibrant Catherine Mitchell, they gave Grenada and the Caribbean an extraordinary son. He began his preparation at Happy Hill RC School, J.W. Fletcher Memorial School, Presentation Boys College, and he went from Happy Hill to Cave Hill, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics and Chemistry from our University of the West Indies, then on to Washington, D.C., where I met Dr. Mitchell. There he earned a master's degree from Howard University and a doctorate degree in mathematics and statistics from the American University. Today, he's an accomplished and experienced, astute Grenadian and Caribbean leader. He has grown to be the modern father of our nation, a defender of the poor and the dispossessed, and a motivator and friend of the business class, and our champion for national unity. He is a model for healthy living. He exudes character, scholarship, stewardship, and he promotes fitness for life. He is an example. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1983, Dr. Mitchell left Washington, D.C. as a tenured professor of mathematics at Howard University, and at the height of successful business practice, and returned to contribute to Grenada's rebuilding process. In 1984, Dr. Mitchell was elected to as Member of Parliament for St. George's Northwest, and he successfully contested this seat and won each time. During his early years as a politician, Dr. Mitchell's portfolio included, as you recall, communications and works, public utilities. Even his distractors will agree that he transformed Grenada's infrastructural landscape. and the rural areas, many of the villages received water, telephone, and paved roads for the first time. Dr. Mitchell was elected leader of the New National Party in 1989 and successfully led the party into victory in 1995, 1999, 2003, and recently in 2013. History will record that the NNP under Keith Mitchell is the only political party in the Caribbean that made a clean sweep at the polls, winning every single parliamentary seat in 2 elections, 1999 and 2013. Dr. Mitchell is an accomplished team leader, demonstrated not only in politics, but in the sport of cricket, community development, stressing that wherever God places you, you have a responsibility to make a difference. Dr. Mitchell was made captain of the Windward Islands and the Leeward Islands youth cricket team in 1973. But more than party leadership, Dr. Mitchell has demonstrated decisive leadership in government. For example, in the wake of Hurricane Ivan's severe devastation of Grenada in 2004, it was the steady leadership of Prime Minister Keith Mitchell and his team, drawing upon the assistance of OECS CARICOM neighbors and engaging the international community. He led a passionate, successful recovery drive to build back Grenada better. Prime Minister Mitchell is not only a nationalist, he believes in regionalism. Of course, his Barbadian wife bears testimony to this. He believes in his capacity as Prime Minister, Dr. Mitchell served as chairman of the community. He was also chairman of the Board of Governors for the Caribbean Development Bank, the Ministerial Council of the Associated States for the Caribbean, chairman of the OECS, long-standing chairman of the Regional Security System, the longest-serving chairman of the Regional Security System. Prime Minister Mitchell was also instrumental in leading a regional team to resolve internal disputes in Guyana. In his capacity as chairman of CARICOM's subcommittee on cricket, he demonstrated regional leadership during some of the most fragile moments in West Indian cricket. And with responsibility for science and technology for CARICOM, Grenada spearheaded the Caribbean Knowledge and Learning Network, led by Prime Minister Mitchell. Now, globally, under his leadership, the United Nations has recognized Grenada as leading globally to have more than 30% elected women to serve in Parliament. And he has appointed yet another woman as head of state, Dame Cecile Lebrenard, a prominent and successful Grenadian businesswoman, now our first Governor General. Today, Prime Minister Mitchell co-chairs the Global Island Partnership and leads Grenada and this mechanism for advancing conservation and island biodiversity to challenge and offset the impacts of climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, he has and continues to serve Grenada, Carriacou, petite, martinique, and the Caribbean region with vision and distinction. And he boldly looks ahead, fashioning a new sustainable economy for Grenada. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in bringing to the podium Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, our Prime Minister.
Deputy Prime Minister of our beloved country, Brother Elvin Nimrod, to my sister and Minister of Health and Parliament Representative for St. Mark's, Dallas Molest, to my brother Peter, former Foreign Minister of our country, and now the newest member of the new National Party. Our two distinguished ambassadors, Dennis and Brian and Derek James, and all the persons who did the presentation today. I want to welcome all of you. And I just want to recognize a very good friend, almost a family friend, Judge Raditz, and her husband, and I think a family. She happens to have been a very close friend. She's also a godmother of my only son. So we recognize a distinguished member of the Supreme Court of the state of New York here this evening. And to the distinguished members of the diplomatic community, all of you here, friends, brothers and sisters all, of course, this is indeed a very special occasion. I want to tell you why we're here at this time. It's been almost 16 months since the new government was elected. And we have had a big task of attempting to put the country on fiscal stability and economic growth. That, of course, has prevented us from doing a lot of travel. But we also know the importance of the diaspora community. And therefore, we decided before the summer breaks, in any true sense, that we must do this and make the sacrifice. We felt we have to come here and bring you up to date as to what's taking place in our country. And I'm sure you got a lot of food for thought already. We also want to make sure that you understand that our government appreciates the commitment of our diaspora community, and that we want to see more and more of that correlation between those of you who are abroad in several cities and, of course, our country citizens at home. And this trip we can't stay too long, so therefore we decided 3 areas to cover. It's going to be New York, Montreal, Toronto, and later in the summer we'll take on Miami, Washington, and of course we can't forget lots of our citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. So friends, at the end of this, I really want you to take this opportunity to give us feedback. One thing I value, and we value, is the comments, suggestions, and even criticism of our people. Because we believe that if you genuinely care, you are not to be afraid of any criticism from the citizens whom you serve. In other words, even when a question may not be appropriate, it is still good to be asked, because it gives us a chance to deal with the appropriate question in the appropriate way. My dear sisters and brothers, we firmly believe in the issue of Project Grenada. We firmly believe that. And as one of our colleagues on the platform said today, we are not only talking the talk, but we are going to walk the talk. Sisters and brothers, it is said that sometimes the best way you get to appreciate issues that are confronting you in any situation, whether it's business, sports, and particularly in the case of politics, is sometimes to step back and look in from outside. I really believe that. In fact, I advise some of my colleagues, don't fight to win elections too often. Take a chance to step out and look in. Because I had valuable experience sitting in opposition and watching our country from outside government. My dear sisters and brothers, therefore, when the election came in 2013, and the results was clearly a massive one, we expected the results to be strong, but it was even stronger than our expectation. And therefore it was easy, friends, for us to knock our chests and to say that it's our time. It was easy for us to become arrogant. But I'm always reminded, sisters and brothers, that power is only appropriate when those who have it know how to use it discretionally. Remember that, sisters and brothers. I'm not only talking politics. Any area of responsibility. If you have power and you do not use it appropriately, you are doing more damage than good to that institution. And therefore, in the night of the election, when the results came in, and as Peter already pointed out, the campaign and how much the message was consistent about bringing all forces together, as an experience that I will never be able to forget. As I stood on the stage, there were thousands of people in that audience. I've never seen a crowd like this in Grenada, and that was spontaneous. And in front of the stage, there were hundreds of young people, boys and girls. And they were like right there in front of me. And their faces was stuck, and eyes stuck on me. And it was then, sisters and brothers, I said to myself, Lord, what trouble you put me in there. It was clear that they were saying to me something like, Papa, save me. That's what I saw. What came upon me then, sisters and brothers, was, I can't do this by myself. I cannot do this with just those who are elected with me on the stage then. So I said, I remember I had a lot of fights with the trade union movement leadership in the period 95 to 2008. Even with the business community, with the NGOs, and with even the churches. And I said to myself, for us to succeed in changing what is happening to our country and bringing hope to those young people and to the country as a whole, we need everybody on board with Project Grenada. Everybody. And I said, if you don't have the trade union at least understanding their responsibility and working with government, we cannot succeed. It was then I called spontaneous, sisters and brothers. It was not part of my speech. Spontaneously, I called on Brother Chester Humphrey and Sister Madonna Harford, who was then and still is the president of the Trade Union Council, and said, join me in Project Grenada. Join me in bringing hope to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and petite. And since then, sisters and brothers, we have met together every month. This is the first month we will not be meeting because I'm traveling at the end of the month, as I did. We meet together as leaders of the trade union movement, leaders of the business community, leaders of the non-governmental community, and the leadership of the churches in the country, and the government, in a meeting chaired by myself as Prime Minister, and I have not missed one meeting so far when I'm in the country, to discuss the present situation, to share ideas, to even agree to disagree, but fundamentally, to plan for Project Grenada, to plan to develop Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. I am proud, sisters and brothers, as I travel around the region, and up to recently coming from a major meeting in Mexico, where many of my colleagues, prime ministers, Jamaica, Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, and I was coming back on a private plane, and some of my colleagues said to me, I don't know how you're doing it, but what you're doing in Grenada, we hope we want to do the same thing, to have that consultative process of engagement between all parties in our country. That, sisters and brothers, is selling beautifully around the region and around the world. That the government recognizes that the only way to go forward is to bring all the players together on Project That Country. So we have to do that, sisters and brothers. We have to take that to the Caribbean region. We cannot continue with little Grenada by itself. We cannot continue with little St. Vincent by itself. We cannot continue with all the problems that exist by going on our own, sisters and brothers. Even the platform of information and communication technology. If we use that platform and we come up with one serious program for use of that platform to develop the region, it can place the Caribbean region in serious competition on the global market. I have no doubt in my mind. So we're not talking not just Project Grenada, it has to also be Project Caribbean, sisters and brothers. But we have to settle our in Grenada first and foremost. My sisters and brothers, what is the state of your country? We must tell it. Sister Clarice and others gave you some of the things that were happening when we came into government. It is not no secret, and I don't want to spend time because we have not done so. Because I think it's important. I think we politicians make a lot of mistakes. Because we believe in ourselves too much and we forget the people are the ones who put us there. When our election is over, it's not about us, it's about the people. We have to always get it right. And sometimes we spend all our time vilifying our opponent, as weak as they may be, or as incorrect as they may have been in government. Spending all your energies and attacking them will not solve the problem confronting you and the country. Let's get it right. I believe one of the reasons that Peter Davis is on the platform here today is because of something I know happened very early. I remember after the election in 2008, the energies of the government were all spent on Keith Mitchell. I never forget that. They have to jail Keith Mitchell, they have to bring him out like this. So I say, wait a minute, you jail Keith Mitchell and you still have a problem. So I remember going to Parliament one day, and Peter will remember this. And I said to them after about 3 or 4 months, I said, you know, during the election they used to call me Jonah, Peter and them used to call me Jonah. So Jonah get up in Parliament, and Jonah said to the Prime Minister and his team on the other side, all spending all your time trying to jail Keith Mitchell. You spend all your time vilifying me. Remember, you are voted there to improve the lives of the people. But I can tell you this, you will not succeed. But more than that, within a year and a half, when the people cannot see an improvement in their lives, they will come next to the wheel. Jonah, wake up. I'm ready for you. Peter, remember that. I had the whole parliament laughing. But that was a serious statement. And I'm telling you what, I think Peter understood this. And because he was a voice for saying, let us get on with the work of the government. Let us build the lives of the people. Forget Keith Mitchell. He's now in opposition. We succeed in getting rid of him politically in government. Our task now is to build the country. For that, I believe he enjoyed the wrath of the Prime Minister. In my view, was very simple-minded and one-dimensional, together with his chief supporter, and then the Minister of Finance, whose only role in government seemed to be just attack and vilify people, not to do benefits and bring benefits to the people of the country. I am telling you, therefore, the NNP is the beneficiary of Peter's work, experience, and ability because of the type of politics that was practiced within the National Democratic Congress. So we welcome Peter on board. For one thing, sisters and brothers, I've said over and over, I am not in this that Peter just joined NNP, or Peter joined Keith Mitchell. This is not the issue, you know. As far as I'm concerned, Peter has decided to join the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and petite. So if the NNP and Keith Mitchell and others are not doing what they're supposed to do, he has a right to take alternatively, because it's not about us. It's about Grenada, Carriacou, and Martinique. We must constantly keep our eyes on the prize. And that prize is Grenada, Carriacou, and Martinique. Too much time we stick on personalities, who we like and we don't like. Something is right today because John did it, but it's wrong tomorrow because Lucy did doing the same thing. It is not so, sisters and brothers. Wrong is wrong. Right is always right, regardless of the personalities in charge of it. We must get it right, sisters and brothers. So even in our own public service, I've said over and over to them, too many times I see decisions made on the basis of who the person is and not on the principle. So someone is promoted because they're a friend of either a politician or somebody up in the system. But another person working the tail off will not get promotion because he's not a friend of that person or the politician. I say if it's one thing we will do for our country in the time that we serve, we must lift the bar. We must lift the bar. Sisters and brothers, that is why I've said it, and I want all my supporters to understand this. And I'm talking about this, it's deep inside of me. It is not a game for me. If I have to be out of government for it, then I will be a happy man. When we decided that Derek must remain as Consul General, it had nothing to do with just Derek. It had nothing to do with Peter David, as some people say. My dear sisters and brothers, the word came back from most people in the diaspora, including NNP supporters, that if you're preaching unity, if you're preaching coming together of the forces, and you remove Derek, you'll be sending a wrong message for Project Grenada and the development of this beautiful place. Because I didn't know much about Derek. So it's not about personalities. My dear sisters and brothers, it is not about personalities. It's about our country. And that's why I call on all NNP supporters, put the label of the past behind. Our parties are a vehicle for the development of our country. It is not just a symbol for just association between friends or family. It's about a country. And we cannot, sisters and brothers, and I cannot follow. If those of us that cannot understand the message, we must get it right. Believe it, Keith Mitchell cannot change and will not change on that particular matter. I would prefer to get out of politics before I participate in the politics of more spite and hate. I've watched it divide our country. I've seen how we have lost so much. I realized recently, and Peter was there, in St. George's Northwest constituency, which is part of my constituency in New Hampshire. A gentleman got up and started talking about how politicians making so much money and taxing people and blah, blah, blah. And I listened to the brother. I say, you know something? And I turned to Peter, I say, you know, we are guilty of this. We are part of the reason for the way people see politicians. We have been vilifying each other sufficiently. And I said to them, just look around in the history of Grenada. Just look around. All the attacks we have labeled political opponents of being corrupt and being thieves and so on. Look and see how many prosperous former politicians that are in Grenada today. Some in the grave, but they died as paupers. And we sometimes used to call them thieves. My sisters and brothers, if we don't stop that, our children and grandchildren will not respect us and will be hurting our country more and more. I am not going to participate in this, and I want it to be loud and clear. Particularly in this period of my opportunity I get, I feel I am here for a particular reason, to right the wrongs of the past and move this country on one path of development for beautiful people. Sisters and brothers, we inherited a mess, and I'm not going to go through all of it. Sister Clarice gave you some of it. I go to the OECS meeting, and they show me a book. Grenada, the most bad pay. Grenada chaired the OECS Prime Ministerial Committee, and while Grenada chairing, Grenada pay. I see what. So I asked one of the prime ministers, tell me something. When we owe this money, Tillman used to come to the meeting. They tell me yes. I said, well, what you used to say? He said, just sit down. I like Tilly for that, just sit down. So he leave everything for me. Because I asked him, I can't owe you. I want to sit down in your house. I will feel bad. Either I stay away, or bring in some money with me. But that's what the Caribbean Development Bank was downgraded twice. Those of you in the Caribbean know the importance of the Caribbean Development Bank, because they access loans from the international community and lend to governments. So the higher the rating of the bank, is the cheaper the loans to the individual countries. So when they got downgraded twice because of Grenada, it means that we cost the borrowing member countries in the Caribbean millions and hundreds and scores of millions of dollars, because they now have to borrow at much higher rates. So when I came into government, the first week I left for a meeting in Barbados just for one evening, and the chairman of the Caribbean Development Bank said he just wanted to have lunch with me. For me, I think he's lunch man one time. So I go make myself ready for lunch. Lunch, and then he didn't eat lunch. Nearly had other things than lunch. They showed me the thing, and he said, look, next week, if you don't pay the $5.8 million to the bank, they're going to downgrade us at third time. Could you imagine? I have not even gone to the Ministry of Finance yet to find out if there's a cent. But that is what I was confronted with. I called the PS and I said, Lord have mercy, we can't allow the bank to be downgraded again. So I said, call my friends. We had no money. So we called my good friend, Pamela Besessa, and said, look, Pamela, you have to help me. Because Jamaica will get hurt, Guyana will get hurt, St. Vincent will get hurt because of Grenada again. And she helped us, so we were able to pay that and pay a number of countries. So that's why I always remember our sisters and brothers in Trinidad and Tobago, because they saved us, and that's what Caribbean unity is all about, sisters and brothers. So we had a fiscal problem. Every month, the government was earning a certain amount for the country to do all work in the country. But the deficit between what we earned and what we pay out every month was $18 million. Try to run a business and every month is a deficit. See how long you've been in business. So there's no way we can continue with this. Worse than that, we are not able to service our debts. As I mentioned, I could give you all the debts that we couldn't pay. The debt of the country was over $1.8 billion. So we had that to contend with. And we're not even generating enough money to even pay salaries, more so to meet our commitments to health, and no wonder you had no medication at the hospital and the problems were just mounting all over the place. So when I looked at it, the situation, I said, look, we can't continue like this. The first thing we did, I spoke to my friends regionally and internationally. Friendly governments, the American government, British, Canadian government, European Union, Caribbean governments, and I said, look, we will announce that we are going to not be able to pay our debts for a little while. In order, we have to formally announce we are defaulting. We have to, that's a tough decision to take, because it means the entire world know that you back pay. But in the face of what we had, we could not duck the responsibility we had to face it. But we said we will restructure the economy. We will have to make some sacrifices on our own. We appeal to our international friends and community to help us. And we sought immediately to appoint some debt advisors to look at getting serious haircut on our debt. That started, friends. We met with all international institutions and friendly governments, made meetings available for us, and we started serious negotiations. Friends, I have to spend a little time on this because you must understand what's taking place in Grenada now. So they said, look, Prime Minister, you're asking us for help. We're asking us to go to the bondholders and ask them for serious haircut. You're asking us to give you serious cash injection in the country. We want to ask you what you're bringing to the table. What are you asking your own Grenadian people to do? I said, well, I'm sure they'll be prepared to make some sacrifices. Then we started negotiations. And clearly they said, look, in America, we're taxing them state, city, federal. And when you buy something, more tax again. Yes. Everything, tax. Europe is even worse. That's what they're telling me. But look, we see in your country, a man has to make $60,000 before he pay a cent. And now you're asking us to give you cash from the same people who pay taxes in our country at the rate we're charging them. Well, we won't be able if you can't get your people to drop the rate so that more people get into the tax bracket. So we had to say this is one of the toughest decisions, sisters and brothers, in a time of economic depression, to ask, it doesn't matter who, to pay more taxes. That is not the right policy. And philosophically, it's fundamentally against my stomach. We had to do a number of other things to raise property tax at the same time. Again, my stomach hurts. We had to move and increase the customs service charge on certain goods, except basic items. Again, that is more pressure in the country. We had to take a number of other decisions, sisters and brothers, that affect the lives of the people of the country. Tough, tough, tough. But we decided at the cabinet level, if we don't do it, we get in no money, we cannot get any debt relief, and therefore we have more and more problem. And the economy, which was negative growth for 4 years and a half, the economy was negative. In other words, serious depression. We couldn't continue like this. No investor was coming to Grenada. The then Minister of Finance, no one had a good word to say about him. He's like anti-business, anti-people, anti-everything. Sisters and brothers. So they said, look, we have to. If you're ready to do this and to make some sacrifice and ask your people, we're ready to bat for you. I'm ready to bat with you. Sisters and brothers, before saying a little more on the taxes, let me say this. They agreed that the international institution will give us $100 million in a 3-year structural adjustment program in cash. So 100 million this year, EC, 100 next year, and 100 in 2017. So 14, 15, 16, sorry, 14, 15, 16. In addition to that, if you do your part, we are going to put enormous support behind the government on the bondholders and those we owe to give us a haircut so that Grenada not only would be able to have the cash to be able to invest in economic activity, but we'll be able to get tremendous relief on the debt. Sisters and brothers, in the face of this, I had to talk to my cabinet and the people of the country. I addressed the nation and I told them, as tough as it is, and I don't expect them to be happy. I don't expect when I pass down people waving me and praising me. I expect a few people, like sometimes when I pass, I see some cross eyes, and that is expected. But sisters and brothers, let me say this about life. If you are a leader in anything, and you're trying to please everybody with everything you do, you ain't gonna please nobody. Just get it right. And my sister and my brother hear me say to my cabinet colleagues, if some of you are too popular, no, something wrong. That means you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. Because popularity contest is not necessarily what is right today. We have to think tough, unpopular decision to get this country going. Because I'm convinced, sisters and brothers, the same people that curse you today, and they may have the right because they may be hurting, when the things turn around and the country move forward, the same people will praise you tomorrow. I always tell people this. One of the worst period in my political life was in 1986, when we were left with infrastructure. We had no crusher, and I had to import some stone from St. Vincent. You remember that? All you remember that? And my opponent say, well, I'm in. Everywhere I go, they call me Stone. Every place I go, I get him cussing Stone, Stone, Stone. I remember going home one day after a whole day of being called Stone every place I go. My son was just 7 years. As soon as I reach in the house, Stone. I said, not from you. They're not taking it from you. He never called me Stone. But sisters and brothers, the point I really want to make is after the roads get built and the infrastructure start getting in place, the same people that criticize me and say I was dead politically started praising me. 2 years later, I got them at Christmas time. The end of the year, they called me Man of the Year. But you know what happened? Before that, I say, you know something, when somebody trying to call you a nickname, you take on a nickname yourself and start calling yourself a nickname. So I played a whole mass, I put a lot of stone all over my body. stone in front here, stone all over the place. And I win all mass competition that year. And I had a good band of supporters. I'm making the point, sisters and brothers, sometimes you have to take the right decision. So the point I want to make here is this. A lot of times you hear the argument about what we get in from the homegrown program that we implemented, the sacrifices that we're asking people to make. And as I said to you, it's tough. But it's temporary, sisters and brothers, very temporary. Listen what the pluses are, besides the cash. Right now, our debt is about $1.8 billion. The bondholders' amount is about $1 billion. Now, if, as it looks likely, that we will get at least 50% haircut, and I'm telling you, a few cases already, the bondholders are coming and agreeing to give us more than that. But let's assume we get at least 50%. It means the debt, the money that we will get off our debt will be almost $400 to $500 million. Sisters and brothers, tell me something. That does not worth serious sacrifice on the part of every one of us? If we don't do what they believe that we should do, and we have to pay this debt, and they will not give us the 100 million US, which works out almost 300 million EC, 100 each a year. If we do not get this, tell me, where are we going to go? I asked all our friends, infront social partners, give me an alternative. I don't want to do what we are asking to do, but tell me what else I must do. Listen, the former Minister of Finance, oh, killing the country, how wicked, and how told the people will deliver. Now the child dead in childbirth. This is the man that supervised over the country's fiscal demise, that agreed at the end of every month was selling Grenada's national asset to pay salaries. Would you imagine that? He's selling asset to pay salaries. There was no economic activity. But today, he's the only dissenting voice, together with those who follow him in the National Democratic Congress, that's saying that we should not make the sacrifices. In other words, we should not accept the 300 million EC, and we should not accept the 50% haircut, at least. Sisters and brothers, I call that very unpatriotic and selfish. Sisters and brothers, there can be no other word to describe it. So my dear sisters and brothers in the diaspora, we are asking every citizen to make a contribution. So we say, and that we say for 3 years, and if the economy turns around and becomes robust, we are not going to keep some of those taxes. We don't have to. That's the understanding we have with the international community. Assuming that the economy takes off and we start generating serious surplus on the recurrent side of our budget. Sisters and brothers, we are saying, therefore, if we ask the citizens of the country to make a sacrifice, those of us in the diaspora should come forward to the plate. So we are saying all the conditions that applied to people coming back home remain the same, except for one area, and that's for 3 years. The vehicle that you get 100% from, we say it's now 50%. Only the vehicle, nothing more. The same amount that you're allowed to come in duty-free in all other areas, stand. My sisters and brothers, as I stand here to you tonight, I am not gloating. I am not happy that after nonsense, but I have to tell you the truth. And I'm not going to stand and leave here tonight and not say that to me, and you hear it other places. So I hope you are not mad with me. But this is for Project Grenada. This is for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite. My friends, therefore, we are asking all these sacrifices. We are making sure that in the process, look at the benefits in addition. For the first time, 2013, Grenada recorded a positive growth in the economy of the country after almost 4.5 years of negative growth. 2013, we had the highest growth rate in the Eastern Caribbean, coming from where we came from in the last period, 2008-2009. That's a big plus. The Ministry of Finance Division, Economic Division, already have said they are now expecting further positive growth based on the numbers we've seen already for the first quarter of the year. And the big projects have not yet started, sisters and brothers. There are these 3 hotels are now being designed, the land obtained already and ready to move not long from now. We have several marina projects who are ready, in fact some are on the ground already, like the one in Carriacou, petite, Martinique, that was stopped by the politics of spite and hate, and now back on stream to provide hundreds of jobs and economic activity in the sister island of Carriacou. It means not only Carriacouians will get jobs and petite Martiniquans, but from the mainland, a lot of people will go to Carriacou for jobs. My sisters and brothers, in addition, look at this. We are embarking on a major plan for a new teaching hospital. St. George's University is identified as a premier offshore medical school, one of the best in the world. That's a fact. I remember when I became head of government in '95, and I mentioned St. George's University, the heads, my colleague Prime Minister wanted to kill me. Today, many of the citizens from the other islands are going to St. George's University to become doctors and to get a serious education because of the stature of that institution. If St. George's University leave us today, we lose at least 15% of our GDP. That's how important that institution is. So now we are agreeing with them and some investors from America here and Europe to set up St. George's University as a base, as a first-class, establish a new hospital, a first-class teaching hospital, with all the major services intact, that can sell Grenada as a serious place of health tourism, where people will come to Grenada with the level of medical care they can get in the country, with the level of the doctors that are available for the St. George University and for Grenada, to get all the type of operations they need in that hospital, and to recuperate in the spice country of Grenada, Carriacou, and petite. The benefits are going to be enormous. No longer with the Grenadians living in New York, retiring and concerned about his health will say, I cannot go home, I'm going to Florida. I want them to say they're coming back to Grenada, Carriacou, and petite. So we're giving a lot of priority, and the Chinese government we're working with them to help us in the financing aspect of that facility. So the St. George's University on board, the investors internationally on board, and the financial institution in Washington, there's the private sector arm, will also be involved. They have held several discussions with us in opposition and in government. In fact, in opposition, I said I support the plan, but I do not believe Grenada has the money to finance our hospital by itself. So I told them that if we are able to get partners on board, business partners involved, St. George's University play their part, and the international community are prepared to go. Now we have most of that in place. We are ready to go, sisters and brothers. Grenada will provide first-class medical facility in the Caribbean, sisters and brothers. And the side story to that, you can't play with health. When we came into government, the previous government, as Sister Clara said, we have not stopped any project. The former government did, Because a project is not NDC owned or NNP owned. It's the people of Grenada owned. So if it's good for the country, we have to keep it. So they started a plan to look at a national health insurance scheme. We asked Brother Chester Humphrey if he would agree to continue chairing that committee. And we told him no holds must be barred. We must bring that plan. Because right now, as Sister Clara said, those of us who can afford to pay and not get paid appropriately, we're getting free service. Some of us have insurance, but insurance getting away with murder because the government taking what the insurance should be paying. And at the same time, we expect the poor man who has no money at all to pay for the x-ray at the same price that I have to pay. That's not fair. His life is as important as mine. So we have to subsidize or give him free medical care to make sure that we see it as a fundamental human right, the right to better health care, sisters and brothers. We know the problem in the United States, health care. I cannot help but say, I think that's a fundamental principle. I cannot see how anyone, without getting involved in American and domestic politics, anyone could oppose a plan to broaden healthcare to all and sundry, so that everybody's life will be given the importance it deserves. Sisters and brothers, as I wind up, let me say this because I really want you to have all the opportunity to ask the questions you want to ask. And I spent half an hour already. This Project Grenada requires absolute unity. My friends, there are people who support the NDC and still support it, who are capable of making a contribution to the development of the country. I say we want them, count them in, sisters and brothers. We cannot say because they didn't vote for us, we don't want them around. In fact, I have to call, constantly talking to some of our supporters. Somebody comes to a political meeting, you see them come. They come to your meeting. They are appearing to support. You turn and ask them, what are you doing here? We have to stop that. They have a right there. This is the Grenada, the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou and petite Martinique. They don't have to like me. I always tell people, if you don't like it, don't like him. I have enough people that like me, like Grenada, Carriacou and petite Martinique. And that is what the objective is, and that is what Peter and others are now doing, sisters and brothers. Some will get on with all sorts of foolishness, because when you're doing something right, don't expect that all will say, yeah. That's something, if you expect that, don't go in anything. So I'm supportive of this whole concept of national unity, because I firmly believe that is the way to go. When election time comes, people divide on political lines, and you preach your politics, and those who get in office, and we unite again, building the Grenada, Carriacou, and petite Martinique. That is what it has to be, sisters and brothers. And Peter already said it, you don't have to be a member of NNP or NDC to make a contribution to your country. Healthcare needs you in Grenada. You could make a contribution, send something home to help to save a life in Grenada. One life is too much to lose, sisters and brothers. So I'm happy, I'm proud of the opportunity God has given me. An opportunity to get out of politics. I consider getting out on a high, so to speak. I believe my legacy is at stake. That's why I'm not joking about this. I don't want to leave politics. At the time, people can say, I was a champion of dividing the people of the country and being a leader in partisanship. I want it to be said at the end of my period of service that I did the best that I could have done to unite the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and petite Martinique. And I want to assure you, I will not do what some of our leaders have done in the past. Wait until they can't walk. Wait until they cannot do anything serious and still holding on to leadership of the party.
Don't tell me that I was proud.
I am proud, sisters and brothers. I am proud to tell you, sisters and brothers, that I have a team of men and women in the new National Party who I am convinced can take this country forward under a serious banner of national unity, building Grenada, Carriacou, and petite. And I want to be there, sisters and brothers, at the end of my service to sit back home and relax and watch the NNP and Grenada and Project Grenada go from strength to strength. That is my dream. And therefore, I have no qualms. When that time comes, and it's not going to be very, very long, but I'm telling you this, no, I will not do it just like this, because I told you things are going to be in place. That is my objective. I've seen good leaders leave the party, and when they're ready to leave, they impose a leader on the party, and it never works. I ain't imposing nobody on the country. The leader must evolve through the people, through the political process. That makes sense, and that is what will survive the test of times. Because one thing we must know about our people, we politicians must always remember, the people are always right. Sometimes when we lose, we say the people wicked. People never wicked. Sometimes we believe that we're better than them. And when they go behind the ballot box, they teach us some lessons. They taught me lessons in 2008 and I accepted it. They taught me lessons in 1990 and I accepted it. Some people have been taught a lesson in 2013 and they ain't accepted yet. They even calling on me to resign already. So, sisters and brothers, finally, let me make the point. Your responsibility, my responsibility, to save our children and our grandchildren. It worries me when I see what's happening to education home and the state of our young people. I know what it is to want an education and you have the money to get it. I've seen a lot of young people yearning for opportunities and we have not been able to provide it. Sisters and brothers, whatever you can do in your own little way, remember your sisters and brothers who need your help. You don't have to do it through a political organization, but do it, you know what? You do it for God and country. Because I've always said, put God first, country second, and everything else after that. Sisters and brothers, work for your people, work for unity, work for Project Grenada. Let us build together and let us save Grenada, Carriacou, and petite. Thank you.
Directed to the Prime Minister. I would like to find out what is the situation with the university, the project for the University of West Indies in Spring Valley. And secondly, I would like to know, no, not secondly, it's a continuation. And why were the people of Grenada told that the land was purchased by the NDC from the shareholders and sold to the government?
Yes, well, first of all, let me say that we are pushing forward with the project, clearly. But don't forget, we can't even pay debts right now, and we couldn't buy medication when we got in. And you know all what I said before. So the idea of finding $7 million to pay for the land is an issue. It's a serious issue. So that's part of the problem. The university requires us to be able to provide resources, the monies that we owe them. They're looking forward to get because they need it to embark on the construction. And a lot of the governments in the region owe them, in fact Barbados owe them almost $90+ million. So there is a financial problem in part of the university also. So we are pushing forward the project. The only problem is that the university has some challenges also, and we have some challenges. And it is a fact, sisters, that the land was bought by a company which had some persons who were ministers of government. in that company. And it was then sold on to government. And I have a fundamental problem with this. Some people are talking corruption. I don't see how any member of my government will go and buy a piece of land knowing that the government wants it, buy it, and then sell it to the government. Clearly, they're not buying it for charity. They clearly was buying it as a part, really, of making money. With precisely this.
I'm not asking a question,
Yes.
but I want to make it clear that
Yes.
this is totally untrue.
Well, my dear, the facts are there. The company is there. I'm talking from cabinet papers, my dear. I'm sorry that you don't agree with me, but I'm not speaking from the top of my head. These are facts. Ask Simmons if he was not a member of that company, as an example. Just ask him.
Good.
I could tell you more persons who are on it, but not Peter David.
My name is CP International. Yes, sir. My comment, not comment, my statement I'd like to make here. I heard the Prime Minister preach very nicely this evening. Preach unity. But then we thought about 15 years ago, where were these unity? Where were these actions? We come now and we back to the Prime Minister. Also to Peter David. We have questions. First I'd like to ask you, why you want to take us in the tourist industry? What member was he before in the last government? He said,
Okay, you want me first answer? You asked me, where was the unity before? Well, my friends, I think I actually answered your question already. I said there were mistakes made by all of us in government before. I wish some of the errors we made, we did not make it. But we cannot live in the past. I'm sure Peter will tell you the same thing. So I am honest enough to admit there were some weaknesses.
So in other
and we are doing everything to correct it now.
So in other words, we take 15 years to realize that.
Well, my friend, sometimes, look, wait, let me tell you this. Sometimes it might be 30 years. Let me tell you this. I heard Jerry Brown recently.
That's the same thing
Let me just tell you. I heard Jerry Brown been asked a question by a national television. How come you said that 35 years ago, and now you're saying something? He said, gentleman, he said, you tell me something. They used to call me Governor Mumbi. You want to tell me I'll come back after 25 years and do this and don't say the same thing that I said 30 years ago? You're not telling me that I should change? Take, for example, you. You want to tell me things that you did 30 years ago and do it again?
Good afternoon, Prime Minister, members of Parliament. My question to you, I've listened to all your speeches keenly, and I've listened to them keenly, and over again, there's a lot of things that you said in your campaign, and up to this present day, that is not being delivered and is not true. Like investors, like the taxes. When will we stop lying for our people that you so clearly say that you care about? That's what I would want to know. We're tired of the lies, and we want to know when it's going to stop.
So my brother, what lie did I say? Wait. You said, let me tell you, you've said it already, so let me just repeat what you said.
Yeah, but
you said I lied about investors. Let me say this to you.
I didn't say you lie about investors.
But you said,
Don't listen to me. Do not listen to me and talk to me. I said, in your speeches, you talk about you have investors. You talk about
yes,
the taxes you would increase it, and this is something
but my brother, you're accusing me of lying on that. So I don't know why you're denying that's what you're asking me. But let me tell you, I said what was correct. And it's precisely what is happening now. What you expect, my brother, is that investors will start building a hotel overnight. In a few months, you will know that if you're going to build a hotel, you have to do a lot of testing of the grounds that you have used. All the technical expertise take time. You have to do design that has to be passed and approved. You can't just go and put on a building. So we have right now 3 major hotels being designed right now. So I have not lied about investors. In fact, I point out there were several more activities. But I did not talk about the airport in Caracou as a major investment tool for development. The airport in St. George's are also being constructed and renovated and expanded. That's opportunity. I only give you a few, my brother. Secondly, I'm sure everybody heard me say when I got into government and saw the state of the finances, that I realized we had to take some tough decisions temporarily to get our act together. And if we had not done it, my brother, and asked our people to make sacrifice, we won't get the resources to improve the economy of the country. So I don't know how you could be accusing me of lying, when in fact, I am telling you exactly what the situation was.
Yeah, but the person
you may disagree, but you may disagree with me. You may disagree with me, my brother. Let me just say this to the brother. I have no problem with the brother disagreeing with me. That's fine. What I cannot agree with is accusing me of lying. I did not lie.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Antoine. I was born in Grenada. This is addressed to Dr. Kitchen. As head of Project Grenada, what has been implemented to correct the debt that Grenada has incurred? And as a mathematician, right? Since you see how much money Grenada owes, how do you think, like, giving back? Like, what breaks is Grenada going to give back to the people? And are we going to give up Grenada in the end? Like, Grenada is going to owe, Grenada going to belong to Grenadians?
I just wanted to find out, were you here when I was talking about the debt? Well, I explained that. I understand. Yeah, let me tell you. Make it, I didn't get that point over playing up.
No, as a magician, so many of the math is Grenada going to owe?
But just listen to me. I'm trying to get you at the same time trying to explain. I said the debt we owe, we have gone to our friends regionally and internationally.
Yeah, I got that.
And we expect to get significant reduction. So the debt we have now on the books, in the not too distant future, when the structural adjustment program is signed and ready to go, which is soon, will be significantly reduced by as much as $400-500 million. So that's a significant amount. So if we get that and we get monies towards develop the economy, by growing the economy, we make necessary revenue, will help us to pay the remaining portion. So we won't have to sell our country and our asset like previous government did.
Thank you.
Okay?
Good evening, panel. My name is Martin Johnson. I have listened to the various discussions and presentations from each one, and I have taken away a bit that there is an Imani program that is providing employment for the youth. I have not heard whether or not they are employed after the program is completed. I have heard that the state of the, I've also heard that the state of Grenada in which you inherited, the NNP party. And as a concerned Grenadian, I want to pose this question to you, Mr. Prime Minister. What new, creative, and different that you have to offer to the people of Grenada that will enhance the ability for them to be more productive or violate the opportunity in Grenada? And if so, can you elaborate on the new, creative, and different things that you can propose to help them achieve the opportunity that Grenada will allow under the administration?
Key thing, training. Key. Sister Karis talked about that. She didn't go into details. Because unless you empower people, even if you bring investors, other people that come from abroad to take the jobs. So the Imani people have been trained to prepare them for the lot of hotel projects, for example. The lot of other projects that are coming, the technical skills required. They have been trained in those areas to accept the responsibility in those areas. The other key area is small business development. If you look at countries that are successful, if the people doing things for themselves, not being employed by government, are the best way to go. So part of the money that we're getting in the homegrown program, we are going to invest it in training, human resource development, and also the question of small business. We are going to give people soft loans to help them to develop themselves and the skills that they have and create the business opportunities that can employ people instead of waiting for government to give them a job. Right? We also have institutions like MARC doing a lot of community activities which were in fact constrained under the previous government. They're now doing a number of projects around the country, empowering people and helping them to help themselves. We are going to invest in the fishing industry, providing more support to the fishermen. We want to make the young people realize fishing is not a bad profession. It's not what we used to see before. But if they have the tools, the technology, they can make serious money. Like you see fishermen in North America, some of the most prosperous people are fishermen and farmers. So give them the right tools and we'll change Grenada permanently, my brother.
I agree to that extent. I do believe that Grenadians should be able to provide whatever resources that they can to the people. When I'm talking general employment as a whole, is there a serious proposal for general employment as opposed to just the youth employment?
No, well, the employment we're talking about, investment. When the jobs come, like 3 hotels, my brother, you're talking 400-500 persons being employed in a hotel. Like Sandals, you know, have employed over almost 600-700 persons. So every hotel that comes, every marina project, I mentioned the one in Caracol, hundreds of jobs they're talking about. Because they're building several facilities, not just the marina, but also building several housing units around there for people coming in. And therefore they be able to employ a number of persons to service that particular project. So the investment and the job creation are going to be varied in several, whether it's agriculture, tourism, healthcare. Remember I talked about the health project? That will employ hundreds of people. And at the same time bring investment to the country unseen in the past.
Again, because of time, my brother, you will be the last person, and I cannot guarantee that they will get a full answer for your question. When the answer to the brother's question is given, we will have to leave the building. We cannot assemble and have conversation. Any conversation has to be out on the sidewalk, on the outside of the premises, because we have up to 8.
Reform is an important tool in that fight also, because most of the land in Grenada are privately owned. A lot of it by poor families. However, those poor families are not able to exploit the true economic potential of those lands because they cannot go to the bank and get a loan to start a business or even send their kids to school. So in terms of land reform, I would like to know what measures you give priority in that reform process.
Thank you very much. It's an extremely important question. Let me say to you that presently, as you rightly said, most of the lands are privately owned, but most persons do not have good title to the lands. Like the parents or the grandparents might have said to them, well, this is land is yours, but they got no title. And you rightly said that they cannot go to the bank because the title is not perfect. So if you go to the bank will say to you, we cannot give you a mortgage or we cannot give you a loan based on this title. We are now moving to correct this. So that if someone has title, which you call the statutory declaration, now they could apply to a judge. If we pass the piece of legislation, they can now go and apply to a judge, and that judge would confirm the title has been good and it would be accepted for business purposes. But right now, those with statutory declaration, it's not a recognized or title that is on it. So that's what we're moving to do. So most people would get good title, so they can go to the bank, of course, and get a loan or get a mortgage.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, brothers and sisters, we really want to thank you again, and let us remember that we have to leave the building now so that we can greet each other on the outside. Thank you very much.